live. Good. Hey, welcome into our podcast. It's Adam and Rex, Silver Linings Podcast. I think we're over 2 years now, or are we coming up on 2 years? I think we started.
Coming up on 2 years. I think we started at the
end of June, I think, or we started?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I got to turn my phone down, Rex. Otherwise, we're going to hear a lot of pinging. I know this podcast, we're actually live, so we'll be taking a lot of your questions. I know there was a lot of stuff going on in court with Lori this week and Brandon's trial. I know a lot of you watched that. I watched some of it because people sent it to me. Otherwise, I did not watch it.
And tell them, Adam, why you weren't watching it. That's good for people to know.
Yeah, for people, this has been a very difficult week for me. I'm sure with my parents as well and Summer. It's hard to watch and go through this whole process. So I think for me, avoiding watching court helps me not go completely crazy. So, but people have sent me clips or kept me to date on what's happening, what Lori's been up to, those kinds of things, because it was a little wacky this whole week. I mean, obviously, somebody sent me a clip, and I just see the pain in Brandon's face that he has to go through this. And he and I went to breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and talked a lot, and got a lot of stuff out as far as all this stuff. And people just don't realize what he went through and all the things that happened, and the dynamics of what he has to go through, and with his family and Melanie and the kids, and it's just a lot. And I could see it, the clips that people send me. I could see the pain in his face. And so, yeah, my prayers and thoughts have been with him. I texted him the other morning and gave him my support. He said, if I want to come, I can sit on his side of the court. And I was like, thank you so much. And I sent him a picture of me on the pickleball court. And I said, I will not be able to make it, but if you ever need me for something, let me know. And if he said, I really need you at court, then I would go to court for him. But he did not say that. So
he had great support at court. He had 2 full rows of family and friends. In fact, Kimmy and I were on the 3rd row.
Oh,
because
wow.
He had so many people, and Kay was there. Kay Woodcock was there, and so it was great to see all that support.
Yeah. So I have glasses on today. We don't have any moderators, so Rex is going to star, and I'm going to be reading. It's going to be a very interesting podcast today with your questions and us trying to get to these questions.
So there's your first one, Adam.
Well, I can't even read that even with glasses on. it's so
going to be a long podcast. Diana simplifies.
So small. Oh my!
Who signed on early this morning? She said, "Can't wait to see y'all. Brandon did great on the stand. Didn't he do really well?"
I'm glad. Yeah, the clips that I saw, obviously, yeah, he's just telling the truth. He's just agree. The problem is he has to go back and go through all this trauma again and remembering all those things again over, and it's difficult.
It is so difficult. So let me share a little about that, Adam. Lisa put a post on the Facebook site. Now, the Facebook site is generally not to talk about trial stuff, but we can't help it when a trial is going on. But Lisa put a post on there, just a kind, loving post like Lisa. And I want to commend the person. I didn't see the post myself. Lisa told me about it, but someone put a post on there that wasn't real complimentary of Brandon. And Lisa, in her very kind, loving way, like Lisa is, said, I didn't think this was the place for posts like that, but, I think Brandon did really well. And to that person's credit, I don't know who the person was, but to their credit, they took it down because it really, it was encouraging Brandon to get a little more bold or something. And, I think on our Facebook group, at least, now, if you say that here to Adam and I, we can handle that. But on the Facebook group, it's such a kind, loving group. I commend the person for taking it down and not making a big issue out of it there. Because that was so, Brandon's such a not confrontational person and a loving person,
Mm-hmm.
that would just tore him up. However, after the first day, I mentioned to him, I was there, as you know, Adam, the first 2 days, and
Yeah.
I said to him at the end of the first day, I said, sorry, because they didn't finish the cross-examination. They had to carry it over to the next day. Said, sorry, didn't get it all wrapped up today. He said, I know, I was really looking forward to getting out of this suit and not having to
Oh,
wear a suit again.
yeah.
So he was trying to make light of it and be there. But, that's tough for anyone to be in that position. And
Brandon, you don't have to
what
wear
you
a suit.
described.
Didn't you see what I wore? I didn't wear a suit. You don't have to wear a suit, Brandon. Come on.
Well, Brandon did apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mendea Adams says, question, when Lori asked Brandon about Melanie's gun, there's not a question there, but it's Mindia, maybe, Mindia. I'm not sure. Go ahead and finish that question if you would.
Wait, Melanie has a gun or Brandon has a gun?
Melanie has a gun, Brandon does not.
Oh.
So that was one of the questions.
Oh, I did not know
apparently.
that. Yeah, I didn't know that. Where did Melanie get her gun from? Alex?
I don't know. They didn't say.
Oh.
But she did have
I thought Brandon went shooting a lot. He doesn't have a gun?
No.
Oh.
Melanie might. Melanie was in the military, did some time in the Air Force.
Right.
And it's not like a lot of Air Force people have guns or use guns in the Air Force. The Air Force is the one branch of the service. If someone had children enlisting in the military, I'd say send them to the Air Force, because when war comes, the Air Force is the only military that sends the officers off to war, and the enlisted people, by and large, don't have a wartime role. Now, some do, and of course, Ben Connor was enlisted. He is a parajumper in the Air Force, and that is beyond combat. That is like deep Delta Force type combat.
Okay, so now it's people are talking. So Melanie bought a gun after October 2nd. Brandon now owns a gun. He bought one.
That's right. He did after the shooting attempt.
Yeah.
That's true. Sorry, I got that wrong. Sorry, I'm not keeping up on starring these for you, but it's good to see the people that are there. Diana Simplifies came back. Our friend Kimberly from Jury Duty Podcast is here. Nina Canadian. Nina saw me walk past Nate during lunch. I was going to jump on. Nate was doing his lunch podcast, and we were both walking away from the courtroom. I was going to jump on and photobomb him, but thought not everyone would appreciate that. So, and here's a comment I want to show, because this is very, very true. Becky 11 says Brandon is so genuine. Very true. That came across in the trial, because, and here's a comment that Lisa made when she made, this is where I was going when I was talking about that post, and Lisa made the comment. Lisa said, have you heard of Greystone? And that's, I guess, a strategy. I don't know it well myself. Maybe I can get Lisa in here to comment on it. But so if you're listening, babe, come on in. It's a strategy of dealing with narcissists where you don't feed into it. You just, I guess the idea is act like a gray stone.
Oh.
And you don't feed into the emotion or the drama. You just matter-of-factly deal with it. And Brandon was so good at that when he was answering things. If he didn't understand things, he would be thoughtful and think of things. If he didn't understand, he would ask for clarification. But he wouldn't snap back.
It's called gray rocking.
Yeah, Greystone, gray rock.
Well, they say gray rocking. Gray rock.
Okay. So he rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what it was, and he just did very well with that.
Yeah.
And Kaz Mungovan, interesting name. Hey guys, I'm watching from Mataranka, NT, Australia.
Yes, Australia. Shout out to Australia.
Yeah, blame you not needing to watch. Painful to watch Brandon, and a different kind of painful listening to Lori. That is painful listening to Lori. But on so many levels.
So the clip on TikTok that somebody sent me, I think Lori, the judge was yelling at Lori or telling Lori or something, and Lori apologized because Lori apparently kept talking over everybody. And the judge says, if you keep doing that, something's going to happen. And then she said, oh, I apologize.
Yeah, those were two different times when the judge kicked her out, or he told the bailiff to come take her out.
Yeah.
That's when she was talking back to him and talking over him and saying, you don't need to talk to me like that. I've been nothing but courteous. He said, you have been everything but courteous in these proceedings.
Well,
Take her out.
She's trying to be her own lawyer. She doesn't know the rules of law of what you're supposed to do and how it's supposed to go.
Well, she doesn't know the rules of common courtesy either. So when they came back in the courtroom, he told her that if she continued on in the same course, same path, she's going to lose her right to her, the right to be a pro se attorney. And she said, I understand, I apologize. So that was the end of it. Gray rock is what Lisa said. Yeah. So yes, but it's painful, Adam, like we talked about last time, listening to Lori just on so many levels, but she is not up to this intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't completely grasp what's going on. So I hope for that reason that she does, as she's done before and as her defense attorneys did in Idaho, and doesn't try to present a case, because she's clueless with that. She doesn't understand how it works.
The question that somebody mentioned when Trina K said that Melanie's still under investigation, is the family surprised to hear that? I was surprised to hear that. No one said anything about it before. That was the first time I've heard that.
Exactly. That was a surprise to everyone. So that was just, we're all celebrating that. That was all great news. Now, I know some people are saying, yes, charges are coming, and they're all excited. I'm holding back my enthusiasm. The fact that they're under investigation does not mean charges are coming. Right. Yes, I know everyone sees. Come on up. Here, sit in the chair. I can't sit in the chair while you're kneeling there.
All right, Lisa, what's your expertise in this field? We're having an expert come on as the witness stand. Okay, raise your right hand. Swear you're going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not even the truth.
Nothing. Rex just wanted me to come in and say hi.
I wanted to come in and explain the gray rock.
No.
No gray rock? Is it called gray stone or gray rock?
Gray rock.
Gray rock.
Gray rock.
And what did you put on the comment? You explained to the person on that comment. I said earlier that, I gave that person credit for taking down their post.
Right.
When you responded. But what did you say to them? You explained gray rock.
Oh, I was just saying that, we don't want to give Lori any intense emotions, so dealing with a narcissist, you just want to be very succinct with your answers, not give her any fuel.
And Brandon was doing that
really well. I think he flustered her quite a bit, asking her to repeat her questions, things like that. So
now people might be wondering why you're so adept at dealing with narcissists. Are you saying that you do that on a regular basis at home?
No.
Good answer.
I just wanted to say hi. I didn't even want to come in and chime in about this. I just wanted to say hi.
And a lot of people are new here since the trial started.
Okay.
So let me introduce Lisa, my wife. I say that because those people think you're my daughter.
Oh, whatever.
Because I mentioned my daughter. Lisa's actually my wife. None of us can explain that. I just take it and run. Okay, I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say hi and
Thanks.
You asked me to
Everybody's
come in,
saying-
I didn't wanna
everybody's
explain
saying
anything, just
hi.
wanted to say hi.
Everybody said hi, Lisa, from all over the world.
Yay!
Yes.
Okay, see you guys.
Okay, now say bye. Bye.
She,
Hi and bye.
she is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, and I am not a good moderator, so we miss.
I'm just reading some
Missy and
ones that are
Cammy.
popping up on here. Oh, starred. Am
Yeah.
I supposed to click on the starred?
So, yeah, that's the idea. They're only 2 starred, so, and I think just because I didn't unstar them. Good evening
Let's
from
see.
UK. So I'll try to catch up on starring some, Adam.
Lindsay, do you want to hop
a
on?
couple.
Lindsay said, "Do you want me to hop on to be a moderator?"
Sure. I think Missy is out there, and she was going up on. Missy even has a laptop. So,
Oh, when
boy,
did
I
this
thought
happen?
she was. Yeah.
Here's a question: does Melanie get to see the children she had with Brandon? Yes, they have split custody.
Yeah. And why do they have split custody would be the next question from people.
I don't know the details of that. I don't know what happened with their divorce or what. I don't know I don't know any of that actually. Do you?
I know a little bit. I know that Brandon was going to go for, full custody. Of course,
Yeah.
he's concerned about his kids. Oh, look, Missy's showing up. Thank you, Missy. And I just sent an invitation to Lindsay. So, Lindsay, feel free to jump on too. Missy just got on.
We go from 0 moderators to 2 moderators.
Yeah. But Brandon had a motion in, and the court, I saw the document. Someone sent me the document. I think it was Lindsay. Sent me the document where the Gilbert police came in and quashed the motion because it would have exposed information that they were using in the investigation.
Mm.
And so she got shared custody. So we'll see where that goes from here. And Brandon doesn't know where it's going to go from here, as far as I understand.
Well, she's under investigation, so we'll just see how that plays out. And then I guess they'll go from there after seeing what happens.
Yeah, so that's another one of those questions we want to log to see if we can find out more information on that as the trial continues. Here's a funny way to say it. Barbara Brown said, "What'd y'all think of Lori getting her butt handed to her by the judge?"
Yeah.
I think everyone enjoyed that. So Carolina Hurtado, Adam, has a question. How's Ian, Melanie Pulaski? Did they watch the trial when Lori threw her under the bus?
So explain to me how Lori threw Melanie under the bus. What happened? I didn't watch.
Well, Lori is throwing out a few different mixed signals of what her defense is going to be. Like the alleged shoot, she talks about the alleged shooting, like saying, I'm not saying there's a shooting at all. And, she's questioning, was that a bullet shot in Brandon's car? Or was it just someone hitting it with a tire iron? And just stupid things like that. And she's sending out so many mixed signals. And one of them is, where did our comment go?
I don't know.
Oh, the Ian thing. Yeah. So Lori was talking about Melanie, and what's the right word? Insinuating that it could have been her because she's the one that knew where Brandon lived. She was the only one that knew. It could have been her that shot at him. So we're getting a lot of insinuations and innuendo.
Yeah.
Celine Thomas asked, do you think Lori was playing sick because she was scared to face Brandon? Maybe. I don't know why she was sick or playing sick, but I doubt if that's the reason because she knew she had to face him eventually.
Yeah. So she's the one being a defense attorney. She knows she's going to go up and see all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that she was pretending to be sick. I'm guessing she was sick.
Yeah, here's an interesting thought from Nancy Morales. Do you think Lori's aggressive behavior is because on June 1st, they confirmed Chad's death penalty? She seemed to change after that news. Nancy, I'm not aware of that at all, what you're talking about. So you
Yeah.
or if someone could give us more information on that. I didn't know they needed confirming. I know he'll do a lot of appealing, and each time they appeal it, they have to say, no, we reject the appeal. And he still has a death penalty. Maybe it's one of those, but love to hear more about that. Becky 11 says, I love Brandon's suit.
Yeah, Brandon
Okay.
looks good.
And well, here's why, Adam. Diana Simplify says, one thing I noticed was that Brandon actually looks like Adam. I was shocked. I know they aren't actually related.
It's weird. When me and Brandon and Zach went to play basketball and eat breakfast, all of us are standing around looking at each other like, what the heck is going on? We all look alike. It's so ridiculous. And Brandon isn't blood related to us at all, but yeah, Brandon and he looks like a younger version of me back in the day. That's funny.
Yep. Yeah,
And Colby looks like us too. It's so weird.
Yeah.
We all have a similar look.
Yep, that's true. Brenda says, happy Monday from Guam. Kelly J, Monday from Guam. Kelly J, Melanie was in the Air Force. Yes, she was. Did time in the Air Force. So I'm just catching up on comments here. Oh, I'm not. Are you looking at the starred comments, Adam? Because Missy has 9 starred ones, and I'm still back in the comments. I'll go back.
No, you want me to click on the starred ones? I'm on the live feed.
Okay. Yeah, go on the starred one. Alexia has a $10 super sticker there. Thank you, Alexia, for that.
All right.
Does Melanie get to see the children she had with Brandon? You answered that already, Adam. Yes, they have shared custody. So, Midsummer Queen, do you know if Brandon had been able to change his life insurance now? He said somewhere that both parties had to agree to change it before. Yeah, some insurance companies, or is it some states? Some states require that if you change the beneficiary, that the beneficiary has to be notified. I don't think. Now, the question is, who owns the policy? That's a different thing. So
who buys it? So if Brandon buys it, it's his to give to whoever he wants, or if Melanie buys it, it's hers to give to or take it or whatever. Is that how that works?
No. There is a owner of the policy. Usually it's the same as the payer, but it doesn't have to be. So someone could be paying for it and someone else be the owner. The owner has the rights to the policy.
Oh, gotcha.
So if Melanie's the owner, which sometimes is set up that way for estate planning purposes, then she's the one that would have to say, okay, I will. It's okay to change the beneficiary.
So did Brandon change his life insurance?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know that question. I don't know the answer to that either. Yeah.
Right.
Did you mention a super sticker from Alexia?
Alexia, I did, but nothing wrong with
super sticker.
Nothing wrong with mentioning it again.
Thank you, Alexia.
2 mentions. Do you think Lori is misbehaving because she's realizing that it is the end? Celine Thomas, after this trial, her life will be a 10 square meter cell.
I think that in her brain, she feels like she wants to, defend herself, but she's getting demolished in court. So maybe it's just hitting her that she's just getting beat. That's why people, she's saying you're not being fair to me or you're biased, because she just doesn't know what she's doing and she's just getting hammered. And it's got to take a toll on you when you're constantly getting hammered or somebody's objecting to every single thing you say because you don't know what you're supposed to say. Mm-hmm. Making statements instead of asking questions and all these things.
Yeah. So yes, I hope that is catching up with her finally, so she won't do it again. And that is positive thinking, Celine, that this is the end, but I don't know that it is. I think she'll be doing appeals, for the rest of her life,
Yeah.
going to court again. So I would like to think it's the end. I hope it is, but I don't know that. Brandon Kuhn asks Adam, you remember our friend Brandon Kuhn?
Oh yeah,
He's
he was
commented
a new viewer or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's a veteran.
Love it.
Yeah. Yes. Adam, were you living in Wichita when the BTK stuff was going on? BTK serial killer was terrorizing that area for decades.
No, I didn't even know about the BTK killer until I moved to Wichita, and people were talking about this guy, and neighbors would say, "Oh my gosh, there is no way this guy is the BTK killer because he just doesn't fit the profile and all this stuff." So I was on the radio there for 6 years, I think, in Wichita, and we ended up having his daughter on our radio show and got to interview her. And this is where I kind of now I understand what she was saying. She gets judged because what her dad did. Her dad is the BTK killer. Automatically, people look at her different. Me being Lori's brother, Rex and I feel like maybe I got fired from my job because of that. There's people who have bias against family members who have family members who do unspeakable things that you can't control. And you're just judged. I remember, starting when I got divorced and I started, dating, I went on a date with this girl and she's like, and I told her about my situation because she asked about the family. I always try to avoid on a date, talk about the family as much as possible, but it popped up and she's like, I don't even know what I would tell my family. So I'm just not going to be able to date you. And I was like, I get it. And I was like, I understand it. But unfortunately, the BTK's daughter, judged automatically, me judged automatically. Just people, it's just how it is because it's so shocking and you're related to them. And, it's just, there's a dark cloud over us, I think.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Lynn McLaughlin asks, were you aware of the seeds Lori was planting in Melanie to destroy her marriage to Brandon?
Yeah, I think for sure Lori was the huge part of that whole thing breaking up. Lori telling Melanie she went to the temple and prayed and Brandon's gay. That all came from Lori. And then Melanie was like, at least that's what I think. I
think the question, Adam, is were you aware of them while she was doing it? While Lori was doing it?
Well, the thing about it is Lori took Melanie away from me. When Lori dropped ship against me and didn't talk to me, Melanie was with her on that. So I really didn't have contact with Melanie the whole time that Lori had dropped me. So I'm sure that Lori, I just heard from what Brandon had told me. But to me, I feel like my instincts, and I've been right about a lot of things on this thing with my instincts, is that Lori started that whole thing by trying to get Brandon, I prayed about it in the temple and he's gay. And then next thing you know, Melanie, I prayed about it in the temple and he's gay. Like, it's just, it all came from Lori. And Melanie just sucked everything up that Lori was telling her. Unfortunately, I'm sure she feels like a complete idiot now, but back then she was all in on that.
And let me make this as a general statement, and maybe it'll help some people that wonder why in the family we didn't do more while Lori was doing certain things. Lori in the family is not known as an intellect. However, she is a well-proven gaslighter, and so she knew when to cut people off when she was doing certain things. And Janice and Summer even were cut off when Lori, for example, went back to Houston, said, I'm going to go make up with Charles. And she went back to Houston, and she cut off Janice and Summer and wouldn't talk to them and tell them what was going on or really what she was doing. And now we can look back and say, oh, she was going back there to change the beneficiary to life insurance back and to get access to all the money and all the accounts. Well, Janice and Summer had no contact with her during that time. So they didn't know what was going on. And Lori did that systematically with whomever she felt needed to be cut off. So a lot of people didn't know what was going on while it was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's
from what I understand, Lori even cut Melanie off at some point, and was with Chad, and Melanie didn't have a contact with her. So Lori did that. I think that was a pattern of hers, was when she was doing something that nobody else knew about, she didn't contact anybody.
yeah, when she didn't want them to know about it, she would
Yeah.
just cut people off and give access. So maybe that'll help some of you that say, well, why didn't you just call her and find this
I
out? Or,
know,
why
I
didn't
know.
you just get everyone together and talk it through?
And there was a whole session too where before all this even happened, when this started happening, Charles was like, I got to get a divorce from your sister. And I was like, yeah, you have to. And Lori, once he found out Charles was looking for Lori to have papers filled out for divorce, Lori disappeared for a long period of time.
Mhm.
And nobody knew where she was, apparently.
Except
I don't know
Chad.
I don't know who, and I would ask people and parents and people, where's Lori? I don't know. And Charles would call me every day. Where's Lori? I say, I have no idea. She doesn't talk to me. And so she went on a hiding thing for I don't know how long it was, Rex, a month, 3 weeks. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But Charles was trying to give her papers to sign for divorce. And apparently for her to do that, a normal person would be like, oh yeah, let's just get divorced. You don't want to be married to me. We go our separate ways. Obviously she had a plan in her head that if she gets divorced, she's not going to be on Charles's life insurance policy. So she was hiding out, and it was just a whole, people are like, why didn't you do, always blaming us. Why didn't you do something about Lori? I was like, you have no clue what happened.
And similarly, Melanie, said, wait, let's stop the divorce. Let's talk about getting back together. Well, she had to make sure the life insurance wasn't changed or hadn't been changed or whatever the dynamics were.
Yeah.
And so they manipulate the situation to, for their benefit. And I'm sure Lori was coaching Melanie on it since she was so expert on it herself. Yeah. Natalie Cassidy asks, do you think Melanie's custody is supervised visits with the kids? No, they aren't supervised. She just has joint custody. So when she has the kids, she has the kids. Jennifer Bradley asks, Adam, you are so kind. I can tell you didn't watch Lori sick. So precious. Okay. Not quite sure about that, but it is true. You are kind.
I mentioned that I think Lori was sick. When people think that she's faking sick, I really think that she was sick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, for in the trial, those couple of days.
Yeah. Where they had to postpone it. By the way, how long is this trial going to go? Will it be done next week or this coming week?
Yeah, I think so. I'm my plans changed, so I'm planning on coming back down if they have closing arguments. I think that could be as early as Tuesday.
Okay.
But I don't know that. If someone has better information than that, which anyone could, please tell us.
Nate Eaton, just call him. Hey, when's this thing going down?
Well, I don't mind doing that at any time with Nate. Nate's so good to us. We love the heck out of Nate. Georgie with a 299 L. Someone told us what the L is. I don't know if that's pounds, like UK pounds, or it wasn't Canadian dollars. Tell us again, please, what the symbol is with that 299, Georgie. And thank you for the super sticker. And right behind it, Deborah B has a Canadian $10 one. Good to meet your wife, Grunkle Rex. Have a coffee on me, you two, whatever libation suits you. Thank you very much, Deborah. That's very.
I'm going to get a massage for $10.
Yeah, those massages, Adams, are in a different part of town. I don't think you want to go there.
$10 massage. Rub my feet for 5 minutes. I'll give you $10.
Yeah, well, let's move on from that. Lindsay, yay, Lindsay. Lori has a prison mentality. Everyone and everything is against her. She's now a product of her environment. And that's
well
exactly
said.
where she needs to be
Yeah, well said.
for a long, miserable life that she did not allow several other, at least 4 other people to have. So, yes.
Yeah, if you think about it, Chad's death row, Lori's life in prison again. Who knows? She'll get another 2 more life sentences. She'll have like 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it is. And then Alex is dead. So those 3, you know, there's consequences for your actions, and those are the consequences that they have to face.
Yeah. So Adam, am I being vindictive or what? Because I'm still holding on to the hope that anyone that was involved and was complicit, knowing about crimes and was complicit, still has to face justice for their knowledge and lack of action. Or should I just be satisfied that the main players are getting?
Well, I
getting
think the other people involved now realize that they were complete idiots and they were sucked into it like Alex was. Alex went along with actually killing. If they knew about it, they knew that, oh, we got to get rid of these zombies. Their mindset had to been just like Alex's mindset. These are zombies and they have to go because they're zombies. I think that whoever, the Melanies and Zulema, whoever, if their brains got into it like Alex's brain got into it, then they were thinking like that at the time. Now, Alex is dead. Alex would have been Alex was coming out of that, I think, you know, right before he died. And then the Melanies and the Zulemas and whoever else that was on that same level. Now, I don't know if they knew about the deaths and the, you know, killing zombies and or if it was just, you know, what are the things that they do where they go and they do castings. Maybe if they just thought castings was a way to get rid of the zombies, whatever it was, they now have to know that they were complete idiots. Like in their brain, they're like, oh my gosh, I was an idiot. So now that I know that I was an idiot.
But is that an excuse? Should they not be held accountable? Because remember Lindsay Blake in Lori's, I know you weren't there, Adam, but in Lori's trial, Lindsay Blake, the prosecutor, had the person say it, and I can't remember who the witness was, but she made them verbally say, okay, so if you cast out the evil spirit, what happens to the body? Well, I guess the body dies. So death is the result of your casting. And it was like the person didn't want to say it because maybe for the first time they realized, oh, I'm praying or casting that this person dies.
Yeah. I think that they didn't know. I think when you go along with Chad's theories on all these things that you're going along with it because it's a fantasy and you're into it and all that stuff, but when you're not really thinking about like the real consequences and what actually is going to happen to these people or what would happen to them, even though you should, like you're saying, and yes, for being an idiot, you need to pay a consequence for doing that.
Yeah, and so you're saying they shouldn't get off just because, oh, I didn't realize we were involved in trying to kill people. You know, we were complicit in trying to kill people. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So you're with me.
If people knew that they were trying to, if anybody knew that they were actually going to shoot and kill Brandon, they should be held accountable. If anybody knew that they were going to kill the kids, they need to be held accountable. Anybody that was Charles or Tammy, anybody that knew that, they all, how many people there are, they all need to be accountable for it.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Carolina Hurtado says, Adam, has Lori always been that way, struggling with comprehensive skills because she struggles with landing the plane, making sense of what she's talking about?
Well, it doesn't help that she's insane either.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about somebody who wants to be, defending themselves in court. It's just, there's nothing rational. The hard part about Lori is that, she has she always been like this? No. But now that she is like this, we can't be like, well, why would she do this? Or like, I don't even, I just throw all that out the window now. She's just not the same person. Her brain is different. Her actions are different. She's changed the person that she is. So to me, it's not, we can't go back to what Lori used to be, because she was never like the Lori that you're seeing now. She was never like that.
I will weigh in a little bit with that, even though Carolina didn't ask me. Um, I- as I said before, Lori was never known as a intellect in the family. And I'm trying to think of, and I can think of a couple examples where she has said something a little outlandish, nothing dealing with murder or something like that, and obviously didn't really realize the full impact, because if you said something about it, she'd just pass it off. So maybe that tendency, but I would agree with Adam wholeheartedly. Nothing like the Lori you have now. Nothing like that, where she'd
Yeah.
do something so wild and stupid and then pretend that it was all okay, and she had a plan, and
Right.
she wasn't always that delusional, I guess is the way I would
Yeah.
say the same thing.
Her delusion is way worse. If she's always been delusional, maybe it was on, if we're going on a scale from 1 to 10, maybe it was a 1 growing up, and then now it's at a 10. So it's hard to detect.
Yeah. Kelly J asked, did you hear about a Lori supporter who sent clothes to East Idaho news station for her? Also, there's allegedly a petition to remove the judge in support of Lori. I didn't hear about either of those. Did you, Adam?
No, nothing about it. I think that they have clothes at the jail that Lori uses, so the jury doesn't know that, she's been convicted of all these crimes. And I know there was a whole sidebar or something somebody sent me that if Lori was going to say that she is a kind, good person, that if she mentions that, then Trina could say, "Oh yeah, you're a good person. Then, well, you've been convicted of all these murders." Lori would open the door for that whole thing to be thrown out. And so, I think that, is that right? Did the judge tell her, if you do this, if you go down this road, you're opening up the door for this?
Well, that's the law.
Yeah.
That's based in law. So
But
that
Lori
is what he
didn't
said.
know that was going to happen to her when she was starting to say, well, she's trying to classify herself as a good person. And
She did know that was a law, but see, they revoked that law. It has numbers with it. And
oh,
when the
gotcha.
judge told her to be taken out of court, that's what they were arguing about and
Oh,
discussing.
gotcha.
And she said, well, then I want a hearing to know when that comes back into play, because that was taken out. And his point was, just because the state said they wouldn't bring it up doesn't mean you can then go wild with what you want to say. If you open the door, they can jump right back into it.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Where they aren't planning to do that, if you open
Yeah.
the door, they'll do it. They'll gladly jump in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I want to go back to Kelly J's comment here. I'm trying to wrap my mind around a Lori supporter. And let me tell you why. Y'all just met Lisa. Some of you have met her before. One of the kindest, most considerate people. Lisa, not argumentatively, but when, things were breaking and the children were missing, Lisa clung to the hope that, well, maybe, this doomsday stuff, they're in a bunker somewhere. And Adam and I would say, no, they're dead. Lori killed them. And, she held out hope, being a good, kind person. And she has often lamented for Lori, not supportive of Lori or what she's done, but saying, Lori just gave up. She'll never sleep in a nice bed. She'll never have a good meal. Just being very kind and compassionate. She is over that crap. She is so upset at Lori. So at this point, so many of us are way beyond that. The first time I saw Lori in her orange jumpsuit on TV, I cried. There's my Lolo.
Yeah.
That's just a sad reality. Now I am just so beyond all that, you know.
Mhm.
And so I'm understanding Lisa, but Lisa, it was a long trip for her to get there. So I'm trying to wrap
So
my head around a
who,
Lori supporter.
yeah, who would be a Lori supporter, and how would you're getting signatures? Who's going to be signing
Yeah.
this? I want to see who these people are.
I would like to know. I don't have anything against them. Everyone do, you know, what you want.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't understand who these people are and what their
Yeah, why are you
motives are.
supporting Lori? What's your purpose for supporting Lori? Why would
Yeah.
you support her? I'd be curious to hear what people have to say about that.
And I'm all for, you know, visit people in prison and all that. There are other family members in prison that I visited, and um, you know, I'm all for being compassionate for people, but to hear the term Lori supporter, I'm just, and people having a petition to remove the judge in support of Lori, I'm just wondering where those people are coming from. So I'd like to find out more, honestly, not to berate them or battle them, but just find out what the psychology is.
Yeah.
And on the other loving and compassionate side, here's Shady Lamp saying, sending hugs for Janice Cox. My heart feels for her.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Shady Lamps.
I'm definitely with you on that, Shady Lamps. That woman has gone through it, hasn't she?
Yeah, we were at church today, and a lady came up to us that was in Brandon and Lori's ward, and all she did was like, "I'm sorry." She must have said "I'm sorry" 50 times. She just kept looking at us in the eye, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I was like, "It's okay." But yeah, people have been so kind to us this week, sending messages to us, checking on us. Missy sent me a text during the week too, checking on me. So shout out to Missy and others.
And thank you, Missy. You're doing a good job at starring. Now we have too many comments to address.
No, hush
So-
it up, Missy. Hush up.
Okay, so Midsummer Queen said, didn't Chad and Lori mark Melanie's kids as dark next on the kill list? The two youngest. Yes, we know this from text messaging that we're a part of Chad's court proceedings. So that's just a whole different subject that I can't even.
But what does Chad get out of the kids being killed? Like, what does it do for Chad? Like, I don't understand why Chad would say, "Oh, this person's dark; they need to be killed." Like, what does he get out of that? He doesn't. I don't understand what he gets out of it. Or is it just a fantasy thing where he's in power? Oh, let me say this person and this person are like, so people believe him that he has this power to discern who's dark and who's light, and doesn't matter what kids. He just randomly picks kids.
I don't believe so. And I don't have any hard reason for this, but I would just point out that Chad's motive for like Brandon being killed is because Melanie would then have $1 million, and a whole lot of that would end up in Chad and Lori's pockets.
Oh,
okay. So I don't know if the kids have life insurance or if it's just like Lori removing obstacles to the relationship and removing obstacles so Melanie can do whatever they wanted her to do. I don't know.
okay.
But
yeah, I was wondering, like, why would Chad be involved in telling these? Like, what about me? Why am I on the dark list? No one's getting any money from me. I don't have any money. I don't have a life insurance policy. Nothing.
Yeah, but yeah, you could see them doing it just for power, sex,
That's
and
what I'm
money.
saying. It's just a random thing, power thing that he's like, well, let me pray about this and see who's dark and who's not. And then they all are in awe waiting for him. Okay, who's the zombies? Who's dark? And he just randomly selects people.
No offense, Adam, but it could have been Lori, not Chad. I know the story is Chad's the one that comes up with it, but Lori could say, hey, I think my brother Adam's dark. What do you
pray about it?
Yeah.
And then Chad comes back to give the let me go to the other side of the veil and find out.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Who believes this crap? It's so crazy.
Mostly those two. And so I think they were both involved in that.
So terrible. It's so bad.
It is evil beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
And so I just have a hard time even, I don't even want
Hey, this
to
has been 5
understand it.
years and we just can't get over it. It's,
Yeah.
you think after 5 years we would grasp the concept and be like, okay, we know that they did this, but it's still so shocking. And I just can't believe that anybody would believe that or follow that. My mind can't get around that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of not getting around, my mind can't get around how scattered and stupid Lori is as her own lawyer. And Weatherby's comment here is a good example of that. Why doesn't Lori just go with the story? She just lent Alex the Jeep. She's not responsible for what he did. Trina has the case cut so lean. I'm worried about proof or having a link of Lori's knowledge. Yeah, Lori could have just gone with that. In fact, she did mention it in her opening statement. Well, I don't know what he's doing. I'm not with him all the time.
Yeah.
But Trina's doing an excellent job with her lean information on just laying out how ridiculous that concept is of how involved they are, and then saying, well, I don't know, I didn't know Alex took the Jeep, when they show, and Lori knows they had the video of her taking the back seat and the tire to the storage unit.
Yeah.
And something we didn't know, Adam, you probably heard this from someone, but they set up an alibi where Alex's regular phone stayed in Idaho and talked to Lori's phone for 45 minutes while he was shooting at Brandon. But
my gosh.
But he had a burner phone on which he had tied in his email and was checking his email and doing searches on his burner phone.
Oh my gosh.
And so the burner phone was sitting there at Brandon's house for an hour waiting for him so they could shoot at him while his real phone was having a conversation with Lori's phone. They're just stupid.
These plans that they have, these plans and burner phones. Okay, now this is what we're going to do. This is going to you're having an alibi. It's just all, like you said, it's just evil. Everything about it. When you're planning something that's evil and you're involved in planning to get away with something evil, it's terrible.
Yes, it is. Jennifer Bradley says, sadly, you can't choose your blood relatives. You can just choose to be better. Oh, what a kind thought, Jennifer. Thank you for that. We both appreciate that.
Yes.
Natalie Cassidy said, Adam, I'm sure you lost your job because of Lori's issues. The radio was afraid they would lose listeners and they weren't going to let that happen. That is.
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. Rex is higher than I am. Rex thinks it's way. I'm 50-50 on that. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
Okay, Adam. Let's talk about it for a second then, because you're the one that talks about patterns to your family. Okay.
Yeah.
So they call you in 30 minutes after Lori receives the guilty verdicts. They tell you they have to let you go, cannot tell you why. Your ratings are through the roof. And they replace you with someone else who, by the way, they suck. So you can't see a pattern there.
Well, it could have been a coincidence that it all happened.
It could have been. Alex's death could have been a coincidence.
No, that one I'm 100% sure it wasn't.
That's why I'm saying you can't see it when it involves you directly.
Yeah. But like we said this earlier in the podcast when I was talking about the BTK daughter who I had on my radio show. Automatically, there's a dark cloud over her head because who her dad is. Automatically, for me, there's a dark cloud over my head because of Lori. And it doesn't mean people, after they, go through some thinking about things. Oh, well, it's not his fault. He's just part of the family. But at the very first thing is like, oh, it's that whole, oh, you know what I mean? And it's just natural. It's just a natural. I guess it's just a human nature thing that we all have, and we're like, oh, but yeah, thank you for that. And hopefully, once this trial is done and the future, goes down. So far, everybody at pickleball, my boss just found out last week that I'm Lori's brother. So I'm not sure how that's going to go down, but a lot of people are being let go this summer because of the slowdown during the summer in Phoenix with pickleball. So who knows? I might be on that list. Coincidentally, I might be on that list.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
Alexia says, Adam, do you think Alex sent Lori a pic of your flight for any reason other than letting her know you're in town?
I don't know a lot about what they planned, what they knew, because I just found all this out, after this. But I don't know. There's so many things. I was scared to death when Charles was killed and me and Zach were there. We talked about that on several podcasts, and we got on the next flight the next morning. We didn't sleep all night. We were up all night at Summer's house. We were watching Summer's dog, and we were up all night. Doors were locked. We were standing up. Me and Zach were petrified. We got the earliest flight out. We were careful when we left the house. We're like, is Alex going to be out there to try to shoot us? It was terrible. And then when we got into Wichita, we went home. We shut the garage door, and for months, I'd go to work, come back, and I would always be looking, around my neighborhood. Is he parked somewhere? Is he going to take a shot at me? So that was living like that was like a new experience that I've never experienced. So people and I feel for Brandon, and Brandon went into hiding with his kids. And so when that happened, I was like, gosh, we're here Alex is walking around. Everybody, he killed Charles, and nobody's saying anything about it. And yet here me and Brandon are petrified about getting killed, and nobody is doing anything about it.
And by the ways, not only you two, think of the people at Brandon's work. They were petrified. They're saying, is a crazy gunman going to come here to the office and start shooting it up looking for Brandon?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have any involvement at all with the case. They aren't related to anyone.
Right.
I mean, there's a killer on the loose. You just don't know what they're capable of.
Right.
Adam and I talked about this at the time. Do you think Al would kill you? And we had discussions about that. And Adam, you said for months, wasn't it until Alex died before you could really breathe?
Yeah.
And that's true with Brandon too.
Mm-hmm.
Until you knew he wasn't there to as a threat.
And I wasn't really afraid of Lori or Chad, because they had Alex do all the shooting for them. So at least in my mind, I let my guard down as soon as Alex was dead. I was like, okay, well, maybe, because I don't think Lori and Chad are going to shoot up anybody, but who knows? That was my mindset.
Yep. Brady Starr asked, do you think Lori was trying to embarrass and humiliate Brandon with all of her questions about being gay and the pink pony? Just so you know, Adam, every time she tried to bring that out several times, and Brandon had already said, hey, Melanie told me that, that Lori had prayed about it and said I'm gay. So it's not that. And by the way, Brandon is not gay, or that would be news to his current wife. But
right.
But it's not like he was afraid of people thinking that about him. But the Trina and the judge shut it down because, again, that's going to open another door.
Yeah.
If Lori uses what she had to try to do that, that's going to open another door. So they just kept shutting it down. But
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Brady, I'm guessing that's why else would she bring it up?
Well, just to go back to protect Brandon and tell you about Brandon's character. Brandon would have teams of guys that would go out and do sales. Brandon is a master seller and a very successful businessman. He was making hand over fist money from selling. And he had a bunch of guys that would sell for him. So Brandon traveled all the time with a team of guys to go sell, knock on doors. He did direct TV for a while. Now he's doing solar. But when you have a group of guys and you're in charge of them, one night I think the guys were out, hamming it up or whatever. And Brandon hammed it up with them. They took a picture while they were all at some dance thing. And that was the picture. And Lori and Melanie were like, oh my gosh, he's at the Pink Pony. He's gay. There's a picture of him with all these guys. I was like, oh my gosh. Did you want to talk about taking things out of context? That just drives me nuts sometimes.
So, that didn't get thoroughly explained, but there was another door opener that, she finally realized she couldn't go in. Lori asked, do you think Lori knows a lot of the family have YouTube and podcasts about her, and she's the subject of many others from psychologists, etc.? Think she loves knowing this, I imagine.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Lori knows any of this stuff.
I'm guessing she does because she knows about programs. And she's brought that up like in interviews and stuff about programs she's seen.
Does she watch TV? Is she allowed to have internet? I mean, how does it? I don't know how jail works.
Yeah, I don't know either. So I imagine she's been told certain things, how much, because she talks about what a big celebrity she is.
Does she?
Yeah, when they were choosing a jury, she made a motion because she told the judge, there's too much information about me. So if you tell them I'm involved in the case, they're going to Google it and find all this information on me because it's all out there. So she knows it's there's a lot out there about her. But I don't know specifically what she knows or what she can.
Well, we had this conversation at Rex. We had a conversation over at Rex's daughter's house the other night about how does the jury not know who Lori is? And I was like, I've met so many people in Arizona that don't watch the news, that don't watch Dateline, there's a lot of people who do, but the ones that don't know nothing about this case. And even though it's worldwide news and everybody listening now knows everything, there's people out there that know nothing about this case. And so that people are like, well, how are you going to, there's at least 12 people in Arizona that don't have any clue about it.
Or 18 that didn't have any
whatever
clue.
It is. Yeah.
No, but it's true. There are people that know about it, but some that not a word. Yeah. Deborah Claypool, does Adam know that she came to court in a wheelchair? A doctor told the judge she was not sick and could attend court.
So willing in a wheelchair.
Yeah, when she is sick for the 2 days, they brought her in a wheelchair. And I don't know if she demanded a wheelchair or if the sheriff's office just said, no, we aren't going to support you. We'll roll you in a wheelchair.
Well, maybe that's family. Maybe that's from our family. Because I know when I get sick, I am the biggest baby in the entire world. I would definitely order a wheelchair. I don't have any energy to walk. If you want me there, you're going to wheelchair me in. Maybe that's just part of that. I'm a complete baby when I'm sick.
Yeah, and I think what the doctor said, and I could be wrong on this, was she had something medical, but it wasn't enough to prevent her from being in court and doing what she needed to do.
Okay.
So she was sick with something. Who knows if there's a migraine, a headache? I have no idea what it was because that's HIPAA information, and they were real good about not disclosing what it was because you aren't supposed to do that stuff. Alice in Oregon land, do you have speculation on why Charles? By the way, sorry, Alice, excuse me, I'm going to interrupt on this for a second. We're about 5 minutes over our normal hour, Adam.
Okay.
Are you okay on time? I'm okay on time.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs just started, but as long as I get to it by halftime, I'll be good.
Okay. I know you were anxious about that. So back to Alice in Oregon land. Do you have speculation on why Charles went into the house when you knew they might be planning something and Lori wanted him dead?
I really don't think I really don't think Charles really thought he was in danger. I mean, obviously, yes, he mentioned that to the police, but he was
And
there
to
to go
you.
pick up. Yeah, to me, he was like, "Well, I'm going to go get JJ," and like, I don't think he thought in his wildest dreams that would happen.
None of us did.
No.
None of us really thought they would kill
Yeah.
someone
Mm-mm.
like that.
No.
Well, at least Charles there in front of witnesses.
Yeah.
So we all had our suspicions about Joseph Ryan, but we didn't, and Charles wouldn't have thought he's walking in to a real life ambush to kill him.
He knew Lori was a disaster. But I don't think that he really, when Lori says, "Oh, I could kill you" and all that stuff, I think Charles just took that in his brain. It was like, "Oh, okay." Like Lori's just talking, blowing off steam or pretending like she's this, because he goes, "She's in a delusion. She's a delusional." And that was before she went and got examined and all that stuff. So I don't think he ever thought that would happen. Otherwise, yeah, he definitely wouldn't gone in there.
Right. Paula Broadworth with a $5 donation. Thank you, Paula. And a question. What do you think the chances are that Trina K and the state are working a deal with Mel to testify for the state? I'll go first, Adam. I personally don't think they need a deal. I don't think they need Melanie to testify. I don't think they want Melanie to testify because I don't know that they would see her as a believable witness for the jury, given all of her ties with Lori. But I don't think Trina K feels like she needs a deal with it. And Melanie was not on their witness list to call her.
Yeah, and I think that Trina, they're investigating Melanie, so they're who knows what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, that's true. But if they are investigating her, and that's probably the genesis of Paula's question, valid question, Paula, because they're saying, well, they're waiting till after the trial to see if they need an immunity agreement with her to see how the trial goes. But boy, they aren't needing it this trial. I thought they could have gone to closing arguments right after the opening statements, and Trina's case was solid just from the opening arguments as far as what the jury heard from Trina K and then from Lori. Good heavens, what a disparity.
But I always think about this. We all have, I know Brandon needs his justice, but even no matter what happens in this trial, we all have to know that Lori is serving 4 or 5 lifetime sentences in Idaho. So even if it's a hung jury or something weird happens, which I don't think will, but even if it does, we all have insurance knowing that Lori is going back to jail for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest tragedy there, I think, would be for the jurors if for some reason one juror, whatever, said, no, she's innocent. And then after jury duty, they found out she's convicted of killing your children. Why didn't we know this?
Yeah.
That'd be a handy little piece of information right there. That'd be tragic because then the jurors that thought she was innocent are going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
So I would feel bad for Brandon. I'd feel bad for a lot of people, but including the jury.
Yeah.
Kathy Somerville says, question, I hope you guys aren't going to quit the podcast after this week when the trial is over. I'll tell you what.
What do you want us to do?
We won't quit this week.
What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? A podcast? Let's do. You want to do a morning show? We'll do a radio morning show.
Well, Adam will do a radio morning show because you have to get up at 4:30 for that. But I'll say what I said previously. And we have a couple of ideas. If there is a purpose we can serve, we'll continue on. But we feel like, and someone made a comment, and thank you for the comments. Thank you for all the comments on our last podcast. But someone made the comment that, you guys did fulfill your original purpose and your continuing purpose, to provide this perspective during the trials. And it would be okay for us to go away. And I would feel good about that too. But if we can serve an ongoing purpose, and right now, Adam and I have talked about it, we thought, if we could get enough people on to give us some answers, we'd continue on just for that. I don't know how long it would go, maybe another month or 3 or 4 episodes to try to get questions to all the unanswered, or try to get answers to all of the unanswered questions. We'd continue on trying to do that. We could get prosecutors like Trina Kay, Lindsay Blake, Rob Wood, and other people that could give us some questions, some answers to unanswered questions. Would continue on. Anything else on that, Adam?
Maybe we can all just have a family podcast. We'll get Colby and all the others. We'll get together.
I'd love to spend some time with Colby.
We'll have a family therapy podcast. Oh my gosh!
Get Brandon there. Have Ben do the therapy.
Yes, have Ben. Yes, everybody in the family's in. Oh my gosh! You want to talk about some?
Maybe we should try to do that. If we're ending the podcast, have the last one be a family reunion podcast and end it that way.
Everybody can say what they want to say at the very end. All right, let it rip.
Right. Brenda Beast asks, is Zulema appearing for Lori? I don't believe she's on. Lori doesn't have a witness list.
She has people that are being subpoenaed, but she may be too late on that.
Well, she was too late, but the judge may allow it. And I think Zulema was one of them, but that hasn't been decided. That'll be a situational call, I believe is the way the judge said it. Natalie Cassidy says the guilty always think everyone is against them, from Akron, Ohio. That's because they are.
Mm-hmm.
Good point, Natalie. Thank you for that. Love Always in Leicester says, if they arrest Melanie, do you think she will spill the beans like Alex would? No, not like Alex would. What do you think, Adam?
I have no idea. I don't know people's mindset of what they feel guilty about, what they knew, what they don't know. I have no idea what would happen.
Yeah, me neither. But it's not. Alex is a different psychology. He was like that. When he would see that, okay, it doesn't make sense to lie anymore, the jig is up, he would be honest. He would tell things. He didn't have shame different psychology. So yeah, we don't know what Melanie would do. I don't either. Shady Lamp says, in your opinion, how do you think she's truly doing locked up? She can no longer buy all the pretty things for her hair, obviously, good food, etc. I think she's too proud to let anyone see how much it bothers her. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I would think that too.
So I think, of course, it bothers her, but will you ever know it? I don't know that.
No.
Trace on the case. Rex, I was in court next to you. Sorry, Trace. Yeah, I didn't do that Friday.
Did he pass out next to you, and did you have to catch him?
That was
his head just go like this, clink. She's like, Rex, what are you doing? Quit getting fresh. He's knocked out.
That was a previous trial, and that was only for a few seconds. Anyway, Rex, I was in court next to you Friday, and Lori would look over with her horrible hair, nervous fake smile. She was so pathetic. I just keep thinking, does it make Rex sad to see her like that?
Yeah, it's sad.
It makes me so profoundly sad to see that.
Yeah, Lori looks nothing like she used to. And her eyes, just when I was there and and she was cross-examining me, didn't even recognize who she is. So it's so sad.
It really is. Griffin 2263, you guys are so insightful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your time with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Griffin.
Yeah.
You are welcome. Kelly J, what do you think Melanie and Alex went to Brandon's house to kidnap the kids for? What was the end game?
No, to Melanie get her kids back, or is it to kill their kid? Who knows? Nobody knows. I mean, there's a lot of speculation.
I'll tell you what, I heard Melanie during that time, just after that happened and she got arrested, etc. I
Yeah.
heard her explaining it to other family members. She did not mention the fact that Alex was with her.
Oh.
I found that out later. She was just playing the victim. Poor me, I was there and they fooled me to come back so I'd get arrested, was her story.
Mm.
And what was the end game with Alex there? That's the speculation, because at that point, Alex had killed Charles. And so he was a family hitman. You can imagine how scared people were when they showed up looking for the kids.
Didn't Alex like try to kill Tammy earlier and missed, and then he had to do it again, or the attempt or something?
Yeah, the famous paintball story.
Yeah.
When
He
Tammy
had a
called 911.
he had a silencer or something on a gun, and he shot and missed her.
Yep,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's the story. So what was the end game? Yeah, you've got me on that one. But getting the kids back when you're in a power play, as she was at that point with Brandon, you're at least getting the kids back would give her power. But Brandon was scared and in hiding. He didn't know his kids were at risk and he was at risk. So
Yeah.
the fact that she had Alex with her just makes me shudder to think what the end game could have been. But I don't know.
Mhm.
H. House, do you think this cult is still going on quietly? Melanie Gig could be carrying on with it. Scary thought.
I don't know if Melanie Gibb is. I think they're all scared now. I think they all fell for it, and they all feel like complete morons, idiots, all of them. I think that they're far away from it now, but I think that they all bought into all of that crap. But I don't think that they're still doing it now. I think there's other people that have similar beliefs, but I don't know if they do. Maybe they do. I don't think they do, but maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's going on with those players together, Zulema and the Melanies and
No,
and
I don't
all
think the
that.
Melanies like each other. I don't think Melanie P likes Melanie Gibb. I don't think they ever liked each other.
Yeah. So they might be going on with their own, with other prepper groups or whatever groups, doomsday
Or they're just
groups.
so far away from it now that they're never going to get involved in anything that's remotely like that again.
Yeah, but I doubt that they're doing anything together. That would surprise me. Lynn McLaughlin, Alex seems pretty comfortable killing and even tasering Joe Ryan. He also had 40 plus guns. Have you thought that maybe he has killed before? The 40 plus guns came when Lori and Chad got money and they gave him money and he went out and bought a bunch of guns. I'm sure part of the story was his role of, on
Hector,
this,
the protecting angel.
well, that and this whole scheme of 144,000, he's going to be leading the whatever militia they had, and so is probably starting to collect guns for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would
So-
agree with that.
So, have you thought maybe he's killed before? Yeah, maybe he killed Joseph Ryan. That's a distinct possibility. Are there others he killed? I don't know of any. But as Adam and
I don't know
said
what
before,
I don't know what his purpose of killing somebody would be. At least he had in his brain, he had a purpose, and he felt like he was doing Chad and Lori's God's work.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't kill Joe Ryan when he had the chance, the fact that he missed Tammy the first time,
Right.
and his murders were when someone else was there,
Yeah.
leads me to think that that he wasn't experienced at doing it. But
No.
I don't know. I can't say that. When he converted, he was gone from us and was a different person.
Yep.
So hard to say. Love always in Lester. I believe Alex missed every time because his heart wasn't into it. I'm with you in Lester. That's what I'm saying. As Lori said, he couldn't do anything right. Lori had to finish up the jobs. Yeah. So that's definitely a possibility that we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Georgie with $1.99 or Great British pounds. Thank you, Georgie.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Go ahead.
$1.99 a pound, watching from London. Thanks. We're glad you joined us from London early in the morning there. That's brave of you. Alon Westerman, are the two of you putting money on her books? No, we are not. Haven't put a dime on her books. And I don't know of anyone that is. Joy Bond, Brandon could teach a master class in courtroom testimony. He was great and came off. Couldn't he? Wasn't he so excellent? Honest, level-headed. My thoughts are with you. He didn't get involved in the emotion of battling Lori back and forth. I was just really impressed with that. So glad to see him do well. Just like Adam, I was so glad to see him do well. Adam was very impressive too.
Thank you.
Catherine Peza, my dad wasn't a peach either, but I still love him. That's how I know. That's how I know there's a God, when you can love an unlovable person. Beautiful thought, Catherine. Beautiful. Thank you. Rex Connor, all through history have been many people who admire criminals by writing letters daily called pen pals. That's true. That's true.
Does Lori have pen pals? Does she have like a fan group? Like, does she have a fan club?
Yeah, well, Carolyn was responding to what I said before. I'm trying to put my arms around who's supporting
Supporters?
Lori.
Lori supporters?
But there are. We have in our extended family a person serving a life sentence and now has a girlfriend. He's been in 30 years and now came up with a girlfriend. You're right. There are people like that.
Wow.
Brandon Kuhn is back. We all love Janice. Nobody would want to believe that your daughter and son could do such terrible things. Boy, isn't that the truth, Brandon?
Yeah.
I was talking about that with my daughters, in fact, the other day when I was wondering if they were conspiring against me. In our family, there's such dark humor. You know, if you say anything related to anything like suffocating someone or a pillow over someone's face or something, it just goes downhill from there. Carolyn Hurtado said, Rex and Adam, in my opinion, Chad and Lori took advantage of everyone in their group. Definitely. They knew exactly what each one wanted to hear. Adam, you may have been, and this is saying why they may have wanted to kill you, is because you called their BS out. Yep. True that. But yeah, I'm sure they were manipulating each of the people, each of the weak minds amongst their followers. They certainly had Alex's number, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of a sickening thought. Betty Lester, has anyone read Visions of Glory to see if there's something in it that would change their way of thinking?
I still haven't read that book.
And I'm not planning on it. I have read books like it. I'd say predecessors to Visions of Glory. And so I don't feel like I need to read it to find out what's there, given the track record of the people that have read it.
Oh, and people that say that book changed their lives for the worst.
Yeah, well, Lola would be one of those people.
I'm not about to read it.
Michelle Seed, did it come out in court that Brandon's PI is the one who broke the case, not law enforcement? No, it did not, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I know Brandon had a PI and got a lot of information, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and was feeding it. He was working with law enforcement.
Yeah.
And Carolina's back. Rex and Adam, you know if Melanie was the only single person who knew Brandon's new address?
There are 4 people, apparently.
Well, if it came out in court, Trina K did an excellent job, Adam, on nailing down where else the address could have gotten to Alex or Lori. You know, like the landlord. You know, and she nailed it. They called the landlord in there. You know, and questioned her. What do you do with the address? Do you make it public? Do you put it on social media? You know, and they just nailed down anyone else. So there were the 3 people that helped Brandon move and Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the only ones that had the address. And the 3 people who helped Brandon move did not know Alex or Lori. So they couldn't have got it from them. So that's what we found out in court. Omar Hussein. Ian Pulaski went to the police, secretly recorded Melanie, Lori, Chad the week he married Melanie. Are they still together? Yes, they are. If so, do you know why? I have no idea, Omar, or Omar Hussein.
Is who still together?
And Ian and Melanie.
Oh,
You can imagine with this case, I'm a little cynical on in a lot of areas, and that's one. Yes, Ian went to the police, but was he doing it, in the Godfather way? The Godfather who said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Was he doing it to find out what they knew and to kind of misdirect some things? My jury's out on that. But they are still together. Because later they've done an interview in public on this saying, yeah, and he said something to the effect, and I'm not saying it right because it's such a hazy memory from 4 or 5 years ago of, yeah, we talked it out and it wasn't as bad as it seemed, and blah, blah, blah. Salt and Pepper. Have Adam and Rex talked about the Cox email dump on Reddit? No, I don't even know about the Cox email dump on Reddit. Do you, Adam? Have you been dumping on Reddit?
I don't go on Reddit.
Yeah, me neither. So we have not Salt and Pepper. Sorry, we're completely in the dark on that one. E. McCarthy. Adam, did you ever speak to Alex after Charles had been killed?
Did I speak to Alex?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Alexia says,
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
You said
my
Alexia.
Alexa, my Alexa answered. Everyone needs an Uncle Rick. Thank you, Alexia. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I appreciate that.
That's hilarious.
Alexa's still going in the background. Sorry. Apparently, she's excited to have some attention. Meaning my Alexa.
Yes, you've been quiet this whole time.
Let's see. Also from E. McCarthy, poor Detective Hermosillo was in the same boat with regards to being terrified of Alex. True that. He was concerned because he was dark and, obviously a target. They really wanted to get him out of the way because he was investigating him. So yeah, I had forgotten about that, but that's a great point. Michelle Battersby, you two are two of the strongest, classiest men I've ever known. God bless you. All prayers and hugs.
Wow, that's a first.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
We got called classy. I've never been called that.
Yeah, I had to read that twice to see if it's true.
Thank you.
That's very kind, Michelle. Thank you. Goga says, Rex, Adam, what do you think is the most important unanswered question in the Lori Vallow case right now? For me, I have two. Adam, I'll give you a chance. I'll say my two and give you a chance. For me personally, not in the case, I want to know who was actually involved, who was there when the kids died, Tylee and JJ. I just, that's a horrible, gruesome thought, but I just would like to know how that went down and who was involved. That's one. And the other was who else is being investigated, if anyone else. Adam, what are your most important, what's your most important unanswered question?
I want to know who knew Chad and Lori's master plan. Like, who knew all the things that they were coming up with and planning, and like who all knew all the killings. Like if anybody knew that everybody was planning on being killed, if there was plans of killing all these people and other people knew about these plans. I want to know that. That's the question I want to know. I want to know who was all involved in that.
Yeah, I think you're giving them too much credit to think they had a plan, but obviously they had some plan.
Yeah.
But as far as a master plan, yeah, who knows? Dr. Vonda K, $20 donation. Very
Yes, Dr.
generous as
Vonda
always,
K.
Dr. Vonda K. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. I'm so glad I caught you guys, and we are glad you did also. We noticed you signed on before the podcast. Glad you made it back here. And thank you for the donation. And thank you for being you.
You know, we didn't think about Missy's moderating, and it's already an hour and a half in. We want to be respectful of her time too.
Yeah. So Missy, communicate to us from behind the curtain if you're doing okay on time. Shar says people hit the like, thumbs up for these amazing. Okay. Very nice. Thank you. I feel like I shouldn't be reading it because, people are just being so kind and generous to us. Speaking of kind and generous, Becky's donated $1.99. I have to say you both are cool. Okay, I'll take that compliment too. That's a compliment from back in my era.
Are we wrapping up, or is there a lot of questions?
I don't know. Apparently we are, but there's still 20 starred questions. Natalie Cassidy says, "Oh no, you can't ever quit this podcast. I love watching you both. Please don't ever quit." Okay, ever is a little longer, but we'll be very open about our thought process and what's going on. So I told you what we're thinking so far. But thanks for that thought, Patty G. But who would bring the green chili chicken enchiladas to the family reunion show? Jeff. We would ask Jeff to come to the family reunion show.
Jeff probably wouldn't come to the family reunion show, first of all. He may send some ribs and some chicken enchiladas, but he would not appear on TV.
Jeff does not like being in the public about this.
No, I don't blame him.
Yeah, no kidding. Mary Patterson says a good purpose to cover other cases that involve family member crimes, not a topic that is discussed. That's true. It's not a topic that's discussed. And we do have something to offer there. I don't know if it's enough to continue podcasting. We'll see. Carrie Ann, yay. Rex, you need a black hat, and you guys could be fully matching today.
Yes. I'll get you some Crush gear. We got a new paddle that just came out. That's called the Crush Black Paddle. So if you want to try it, you can come here and I'll let you try the new paddle. It's pretty awesome.
Okay. I had a black hat in my bag right here as a Snap-on hat. So I was just trying to match. So thanks for the eye on fashion, Carrie Ann. TQTBX, $5 donation. Thank you. Do y'all know what the Pink Pony reference video is about? I can explain with another super chat if you want to know. You don't have to do it on
I explained it a little bit, I think, right?
Yeah. Or was Adam wrong on that? You don't have to do it with a super chat. I mean, you don't have to donate to explain it, to talk.
I think I'm right on that, but yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm not.
Okay. And Critch says, thank you for this podcast. You are both amazing. These are such loving comments. I feel guilty reading them, but thank you. Lori, spelled like Lori, question. Love to know what your thoughts are on Lori's opening statement and bringing up biblical figures again.
It's just, that's where her brain is. She's misconstruing scriptures all the time, and she's in her delusion of what being a martyr. She wants to be a martyr.
And my thought is, it turns my stomach. And her opening statement, two things about that. One, the biblical, wanting to be a martyr, as Adam said. And two, how utterly unintelligent, stupid, lack of strategy for someone who's defending themselves and is following an opening statement from a professional who laid out their case so well. And then to get up there and do what she did is just, it's so hard to listen to. And it all turns my stomach. Belladonna Chronicles. Love that. Belladonna. 2 years ago, I planted raspberries to go up a trellis while listening to your stories and thought, they are climbing. Boy, 2 years ago, she has raspberries by now. Maybe we've been doing it too long.
Wow.
Lindsay, yay, Lindsay, Lindsay. Nate Eaton did an interview with Brandon's PI. Right. I listened to some of that because I really appreciated his PI and his insight and his working with law enforcement. Good listen. In fact, of course, most of Nate's programs were good listen. I told him that while I was there. Adam, I don't think I told you this, but I went up to Nate the first day and, said hi, thanked him like I always do every time I see him, anytime I see Kay or Larry. And Nate said, "Hey, Rex, that's a nice shirt." I said, "You like it? It's bamboo." And he just cracked up. He knew right away what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Robin Lane, we're all with you on this. I never understand Lori's or anyone's attraction to Chad. Yep, that is just a disgusting thought, so we'll move on. But thanks for that insight. Becky 11, you guys should go to CrimeCon this year. You know what? Adam and I aren't true crime guys, so I don't think, I don't know. Would we feel out of place at CrimeCon, Adam?
Probably. We fell out of place at a lot of places, not just CrimeCon.
Well, that's true too. So TOTBX with a $10 donation. You didn't have to donate to talk to us, but thank you for that. Thank you. That's generous. Pink Pony Pub in Gulf Shores, Alabama's restaurant where Brandon went and danced in the video reference. Pink Pony Club is a gay bar in LA. I think Lori convinced Melanie the pub was the club. Oh, interesting.
Mm.
So TOTBX is telling us that the pub is not a gay bar.
Mm.
It's a restaurant where Brandon actually was.
Yeah.
But Lori used that, and that was part of her. But
Ran with it.
I don't know if y'all knew this, but Lori, to turn the family and anyone else against Joseph Ryan, gaslit very similarly and said Joseph Ryan is gay before she started and was looking at gay kiddie porn, and then came out with the story that he abused Colby and Tylee. And so that is a real, I don't think marker is the right word, but an indicator of Lori's strategy, I think. And I didn't really start looking into her strategy until the day Charles was killed. The day I found that out, right away it clicked in my mind. And one of the first things I did is I went back and found documents of Joseph Ryan's and the divorce and all the controversy around the ad litem's reports and who said what. Because right away, since I had heard the controversies or Lori's statements, of course, in our family, we hear Lori's side, and they were similar enough to what she had said about Joseph Ryan that as soon as I heard that they killed him, I went back and researched all that about Joseph Ryan. And that's why I wish they could open the case and find some evidence one way or the other about Joseph Ryan. But I suspect that could have been the similar story. Monica LM, and if each of you could ask Lori 2 questions, what would they be? I know let's go one at a time, Adam. I have my first one.
Okay.
Explain to me, Lori, what you think about all of the collateral damage you've caused for everyone involved, including Colby, Janice, Barry, Summer, Adam, and I would just keep listing people off. Brandon's children, Melanie, people that she cared about at one time. That would be my first question. What would be yours, Adam?
What color dark am I? What number am I?
If you're still on the scale.
Yeah. How many planets have you lived on? How many lives have you been on? Who have you been married to in previous lives? What does this life mean? I would ask her. I would make her, sound like an idiot answering all these questions. I literally would. I would just go down every avenue making her sound so dumb.
Yeah. And even though I think I know the answer, I would ask her, questions about people she cared about. And then I would just follow up on the question since she talked about it with Colby, her idea of Tylee killed JJ and then committed suicide. I'd say, why did the bodies have to be desecrated? Like
Yeah,
they
why did you call Chad that day when the FBI was there and you were like, what? The FBI's there? What?
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
What? Yeah, why are you
So-
worried about it?
Mhm. Missy Holden Adam, what's your second question? I'm sorry, I left.
What's the recipe to your green chicken enchiladas?
That is cruel. Okay.
I would ask her.
Green-eyed lady from Texas, your thoughts on the death penalty? I'll go first on that, Adam.
All right.
I got some great insight from one of my daughters when we were talking about it originally. And of course, I'm going to answer in relation to Lori. I was asking my daughters what they thought about it. And I'm not opposed to the death penalty, but one of my daughters said, "Oh, I'm opposed. I don't want her to get the death penalty." I said, "Really? Why not?" And she said, "I want her to wake up every day in a miserable place, in a miserably long life, and have to deal with the consequences of her actions." I thought, man, this daughter is, and my daughters they are just livid. Lori was a significant positive figure in their lives, and they are not amused. Go ahead, Adam.
To me, when you're at the age of Lori and you're on death row and it takes 26 years to get killed or whatever it is, it seems like being on death. I don't know unless the rules for death on death row are different than regular prison. That would be the only one because I think Lori and Chad are both going to die in prison before before Chad gets executed.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter.
Nano7 with the $20 donation. Thank you, Nana. It must be so hard to live this, but what the hell happened to her? It's like she's no longer human.
Yeah.
Good observation. That's a great description, isn't it? What she's
Yeah.
doing is not human.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought in those terms, Nana. I don't know if that means I'm worked or you're worked, but I'm with you on that. And we'll close with this one, Adam.
Okay.
Lindsay asks, when is the next live? I think our pattern has been to release a podcast and then do a live a week later. We'll
Mhm.
probably do that this week, you think, Adam?
Yeah.
Do a live later on this week, about a week from now, so as we can figure out when our schedules can guess in the same place.
Yeah.
So the next live would be 2 weeks from now in that scenario, but we'll see. If we have closing arguments this week, we may move things up. We'll see about that. So please stay tuned, join us. We love having you with us, love this community. It's such a wonderful support for us. We appreciate that so much. Those of you that don't answer, that don't comment, I know once in a while we get a comment. I've never commented before. I'm part that does. The vast majority of you don't comment, yet you come back and listen. We appreciate that. We feel that love and support. Adam, any other closing comments?
Have a great Father's Day. Oh wait, that's next Sunday.
Yeah, that's still valid. Who knows
Yep.
if we'll be talking to him before then.
Yeah. So, and have a great weekend. Thank you for all the prayers and, a tough week this week. And thanks for all the messages and all the people that reached out. So we appreciate you. Thank you for doing all that for us and being therapy for us to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I got.